show for today. The guest is Dr. LMadu3, and the topic is Cuba. And Dr. LMadu3, I think the last time that we spoke in reference to this, we were talking about some of the medical advantages you indicated, and as a prelude to talk about some of the problems that Cuba might have. But let's say make some additional statements in reference to medicine in Cuba.
Yeah, like I said, Cuba has one of the best medical, systems in the world today. In terms of AIDS, like we've been talking about, Cuba exports, one of the best HIV/AIDS vaccines to most of the third world countries. In fact, most of the Latin American countries buy their HIV/AIDS vaccines from Cuba. In terms of percentage of those infected by AIDS, Cuba has probably the lowest, in the whole world. When this HIV/AIDS came to Cuba, Fidel Castro, quarantined the first those who were identified initially, to the island of Pines. They were quarantined. Then he made sure everybody had to be tested and checked out. And then they moved there and started manufacturing, HIV/AIDS vaccines. So that today, countries like Venezuela, Bolivia, you name it, Mozambique, Angola, a lot of them import their HIV/AIDS vaccines from Cuba. In terms of eyesight, Cuba has one of the best. As we speak right now, there are thousands of people from a lot of South American countries sitting in Havana waiting for their eyesight to be corrected. Some, glaucoma and all this. Yes, Cuba has one of the best. So in terms of medicine, they have, achieved a very, very, very big feat in that country. We don't hear much about it.
Not at all. Yeah. No, we don't hear anything about it, as a matter of fact.
When President Carter went to Cuba, he was amazed when he went to the Biotechnology Institute to see what they are doing. So in terms of healthcare system, the Cuban Revolution has accomplished a lot. Their educational facilities, probably one of the best in South America. Education is free in Cuba, from elementary to university. So they have probably the highest literacy rate in the Western Hemisphere, even higher than ours here. Yeah, about 99%.
That's extraordinary.
Yeah, about 99.9% literacy rate in Cuba. So that's a gargantuan accomplishment. Now, what are the failures, of the Cuban Revolution? We can say, human rights. In countries, that are dictatorships like Cuba is, people don't have the rights to say what they want to say. They don't have the right to publish what they want to. A lot of the newspapers, radio are controlled by the government. The largest newspaper, Granma, is communist, controlled. People don't have a right to go to wherever they want to, when they want to. You can just say, well, I'm going to the airport, Havana Airport, I'm going to the United States. No, you can just, the government won't allow you to do that. They want to make sure where you're going to and give you a pass to go and come back, So some of those things are the human rights situation. Jobs, you can just get up, say, well, I want to go and change my job. I got to be working at TSU, no more at Fisk. You can't do that. The government controls the economy. About 95, 96, 97% of the economy is government controlled. And that's where we come to one of the most important earth-shattering news about Cuba. When Fidel got sick, he handed over to his brother and a group of those around him. Officially, Raul took over on February 8th, last year as president of Cuba. What has happened since then is that they started looking at the economic downturn in the world. And they say, well, no. We have 5.1 million employees in Cuba. That's the government workforce, 5.1. Raul and his advisors say, no, we can't keep this up. There are a lot of people just sitting, eating, not doing anything, but we are paying them.
Just part of the government
payroll.
Yeah,
the government payroll. This is too much. If we have to survive